Okay, hey everybody, Teching and Barry back again, and you know what? Let's start off today's video with a little bit of a game show. You guys want to play a game show? Let's have some fun. It's one of my backup careers in case YouTube doesn't work out. You know, my first career is obviously One Piece YouTuber. That seems to be doing all right for me. I think I found my niche with that. But if for whatever reason that doesn't work out, like if One Piece were to end someday or something, I don't know. I don't think it will. But anyway, second option is late night talk show host. I think that would be a lot of fun. And if that doesn't work out, game show host. And if those options don't work, I guess I go back and working at Dollar Tree, I suppose. It's just like, all right, well, none of that stuff worked out. All right, beep, beep, 536, sir. All right, here's your receipt. You have a good day. All right. So today's game show, what we're going to be doing is I'm going to show you two images here on screen. So if you're listening to this in podcast format, I'm sorry, you can't play. I mean, I guess you could try. You could guess. So I'm going to throw two images up on screen, right? And you're going to tell me which of those images is the crocodile. The crocodile, as it were. All right. So let's get started. Here's an easy one. First two images right here. All right. Did you guess which one was the crocodile? Okay, it's very obviously this one right here that I'm pointing to that I will add in post. This is the crocodile. Future teching, when you're editing this, make sure to get the pictures right. make sure they're crocodiles, not alligators, all right? All right, so that was the crocodile right here. All right, next pictures are up. Okay, which one of these pictures is the crocodile? All right, did you guess it? All right, well, you were wrong, unless you guessed that neither of them were crocodiles, because guess what? Neither of them were crocodiles. They're both alligators. Okay, we got that. All right, and I hope everybody's keeping score on how exactly you're doing right now. If you're going 2-2, that's great. If you're falling behind, you might as well just give up right now. But here's the final round, ladies and gentlemen, the final two pictures. Which one is crocodile? Okay, are you ready for this? Yes, you're correct if you guessed both of them, because they're both crocodiles! Ha-ha! And that leads very nicely into the topic of today's video. All right, so, yeah, there you go. So, this was something I did not notice the first time I watched the Netflix series. This scene literally, like, when we saw Roger's execution and we were cutting around into the crowd, and we saw, like, Mihawk in there, and also Dragon was in the cloak and everything like that. We saw Shanks, and when the camera's panning over to see Shanks, as a teenager watching Roger's execution, I was focusing on Shanks in the background, but I did not notice in the foreground, before we kind of zoom over to Shanks to see him, the camera focuses on a particular woman in the crowd. And this woman's outfit, I mean, like, everybody else in the crowd, other than, like, characters like Mihawk and Shanks and everybody, and Smoker was in the crowd as well. I forgot to mention him when I did the episode 1 breakdown, but we also see Smoker in the crowd as well. But, like, everybody else in the crowd is wearing, like, normal, like, civilian clothing, like not really standing out all that much, so it makes the characters like Shanks and Smoker stand out even more. Well, there is one character, this woman right here, that has a very unique outfit, okay? And she's got the slick back hair, and she has an earring and everything, and interesting, like, jewelry, and just an outfit that's, like, apart from, like, everybody else in the crowd. And the camera lingers on her for, like, a little bit of a second, and then it kind of, like, we zoom in and focuses on Shanks, and then we cut away, all right? And so, I didn't even notice this at first, but a lot of people did, and they were like, that's Crocodile. Right there. Crocodile was confirmed to be a woman during the flashback, during Roger's execution, and had his sex changed by Ivankov later on into a man, and also is probably Luffy's mother. We did it, ladies and gentlemen! Okay, by the way, I find it like it's become a meme of a meme on its own, the idea, the Crocomom theory, and it's one of those things where it doesn't make sense, like, at all, and just the fact that, like, okay, if you want to say that Crocodile used to be biologically a woman back in the day, and then met Ivankov at one point, and Ivankov used the powers of the hormone fruit to change his sex, it's like, okay, sure, that makes sense, but how do you connect the dots immediately to that, to, like, therefore, must be Luffy's mother? You can't. There really is no connection to it beyond that. That's what makes it a meme. It's like the meme of Usopp being Sage King. I mean, obviously he's not, but some people still think he is, and it's very strange, and it makes no sense. Like, clearly Usopp is not Sage King, but I don't know. People are just like, it's just for the sake of the meme. It's memeing a meme, all right? I even saw some articles out there that were like, One Piece Netflix confirms the theory that Crocodile is Luffy's mom. And just like, yeah, sure, they did that. They 100% did that. Of course they did. Okay, great. But I still think, after looking at the scene and like, all right, yeah, this is so intentional. That character has to be Crocodile, all right? Now, there was a bunch of other YouTubers. I just watched O'Hara's video on this like 2 days ago, and Artur's before that. And they do videos on like, here are a bunch of hidden Easter eggs all throughout the season, okay? So I'll link Artur's video and O'Hara's video because they go through a bunch of them. So instead of going through like all the Easter eggs, I'm just going to focus on one thing. So we're just going to do that today, all right? But there's a slew of a bunch of other Easter eggs scattered throughout the entire Netflix series, all 8 episodes, and stuff in the backgrounds that references other things. There's actually one when I'm tackling episodes 3 and 4, when I do the breakdowns for those. There's actually I did not expect this one. They did something that connects to Thriller Bark in the background of like Syrup Village. So we'll get to that when we get to that. But anyway, yeah. So I'm sitting down and I'm thinking, all right, there's a couple of different avenues they could have went with this, with the idea of, let's say that character right here, this woman, and I do not know her name, like the actress's name, and I think the reason because of that is like, you couldn't say, it was like, oh, this woman is playing Crocodile, because then it confirms that. It hasn't been confirmed, like, officially that this woman, this actress was playing Crocodile. I mean, I think it's pretty damn obvious, but it hasn't been like confirmed yet. And there was also when the Straw Hats, I think, were doing the Wired autocomplete interview, when all the actors were sitting around doing the interview, there was a scene where Iñaki was like talking about Crocodile, and Emily Rudd just kind of shushes him like, oh, you're not allowed to talk about no. And originally, because this was before the Netflix series came out, this was like in promotional for it, so I remember watching that interview with the Wired autocomplete, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, maybe there's stuff with Crocodile in season 1 that sets up season 2, or maybe Emily was like shushing Iñaki because, oh, don't talk about Crocodile because that's season 2 and we don't want to spoil anything for people that haven't watched the series at all. Like, this is the first time they're getting introduced to One Piece, right? So, but then after the first episode, it's like, oh, okay, all right, I think this makes more sense now. Okay. So I'm thinking that actress definitely is playing Crocodile. Okay, now, couple of different ways they could do this, all right? We could go along the track that the theory has been around ever since Impel Down, ever since Crocodile reappeared in Impel Down and Ivankov was there, and they were a little bit, like, Luffy was a little worried about, like, trusting Crocodile. Like, can we trust this guy? He attacked Vivi's country and everything like that. Can we actually have him help us? And Ivankov's like, oh, don't worry, Straw Hats. He has a weakness that I know all too well. And Crocodile's like, Ivankov, don't you breathe a word of that to anybody. And Ivankov's like, oh, I won't, don't worry. Hee-haw. Just, do what we ask of you and help us break out of here, and I won't say a thing. And Crocodile's like, grr, okay. So that's exactly how that scene went, right? So the theory goes that Crocodile, back in the day, was a woman, was born biologically female, and so at some point Crocodile met Ivankov. I'm not sure if the implication is Crocodile sought out Ivankov to ask him to change his sex, or if it was a thing where Ivankov, like, maybe at some point Crocodile ran afoul of the Revolutionary Army and Ivankov just did it against his will. But the implication of the scene seems to imply that this was a request from Crocodile. Crocodile asked Ivankov to use his hormone powers to change his sex, okay? And so it also seems like something Crocodile is somewhat, like, a little bit ashamed of, or like, don't tell anybody about this. Like, I don't want you to breathe a word about what happened. So we'll get back to that. Like, Crocodile's like immediate response, like, don't breathe a word of that, Ivankov, I swear. It's like, okay, so we'll get back to that, all right? But the idea is like, okay, and then by the time, Luffy and, everybody encounters Crocodile at Alabasta, by the time he sets himself up as a warlord at Alabasta, he's Mr. Zero and establishes Baroque Works, he's been a man for, at least like a couple decades at this point, right? Okay. okay? So that's the idea. Now, everything else beyond that is just like, therefore, Luffy's mother. I'll let you read about that if you want to go down that direction with it, okay? I don't think that's the case. Once again, I think it's a meme of a meme for the sake of meme. But yeah, so anyway, that's the idea, right? So if that was the case, then we could have just had that, like, that was Oda's vision from the beginning. Like, Oda planned that out with the character, okay? And so we do see Crocodile in the manga and anime at Roger's execution in the Strong World, Chapter 0, but it's always from the back of Crocodile. We see his slicked back hair, or maybe her slicked back hair. We're not really sure, but we don't see any other indication, okay? So, and then, you know, there's other, everybody's like really like want this theory to be true. I even saw a thing that with the Seraphim that exists now. So there's S Crocodile that's out there in the world, not on Egghead right now, but is with, you know, S Flamingo and S Bat, you know, going around the world and like quelling the revolutions. We see Seraphim Crocodile. And I remember somebody said, oh, this confirms that Crocodile used to be a woman because the Seraphim Crocodile has star pupils. And that's the only Seraphim that has star pupils other than S Crocodile is S Snake, whose bow is Seraphim. So only the female Seraphim have star pupils. I saw people talking about that. And then, no, later on, you do see Mihawk's Seraphim, S-Hawk. You do see the star pupils there, so they all have star pupils. But that just gives you an idea of how many people want this theory to be true, okay? So, it's totally feasible. And I can honestly kind of see this direction where Oda planned Crocodile to be a woman, and then there's going to be a whole backstory with Crocodile that we haven't learned about yet. Okay, and then like there's also the part with Whitebeard as well. Got Whitebeard over here, so that's applicable. Put Whitebeard over here. Okay, so what if, because of the live-action Netflix, what if it's a situation where they approached Oda and were like, hey, Oda, we want to put Crocodile in the crowd of people watching Roger's execution. Like, we know Crocodile was there, but was Crocodile at this point in the story biologically male or female? And what if Oda was like, it might have been a thing, like setting it up for the manga? Like, you know what? Crocodile's back in the story right now with the Cross Guild. I'm probably going to reveal more about, you know, his backstory soon. And yeah, back then it turns out Crocodile was a woman and then met Ivankov later. And what if it was like, yeah, put that in the live action as a little bit of an Easter egg. Like, people watching the live action, like, this is the first time you've ever watched anything One Piece, you know, they wouldn't really notice anything. It'd be like, oh, who's that interesting character right there, you know, in the crowd, if they notice her at all, because I didn't even notice her the first time I watched it through. But it's like, oh, okay, there's that character. And it could be a thing where Crocodile shows up as a man, you know, in season 2 or season 3, Alabasta, you know, and the Straw Hats fight Crocodile and Baroque Works and everything like that. They've already established Baroque Works in season 1, right? So it could be a thing where Crocodile shows up later and is a man at that point, or played by a male actor, and nobody even connects the dots, you know, because it's like, oh, that was a female actress in the first season, and then there's a male actor. It's clearly not the same character, because Ivankov hasn't been introduced yet. That's not until way later. So, you know, people that are getting into One Piece for the first time, they're not even going to notice it, but then the fans would be like, what? You know, maybe. Okay, that's one way to go about it. That's one way to go about it. Or, here's another way. I was thinking about this. What if because of the fan theory that exists, you know, the theory exists that Crocodile used to be a woman, what if it was because of that theory that the casting department or whatever, when they were setting this all up, Roger's execution, they were like, hey, because of the fan theory that Crocodile used to be a woman, let's just make Crocodile a female character in the entire story. Like, when the Straw Hats eventually arrive at Alabasta, Crocodile will be played by that actress from season 1 the whole way through. Okay? Almost as if, and obviously they would have to go over this with Oda and stuff like that, but here's the clever idea that I like. Because we assume that's what happened with Crocodile. Like, Crocodile had his sex changed, okay? But the thing that always bugged me about that theory was that Crocodile was very, like I said, a little bit of, like, embarrassed by it. Like, don't you tell anybody, Ivankov. And I'm always sitting there like, does that make sense for Crocodile to be that, like, you know, like that, embarrassed about doing something like that. Like, he can't, like, I can't let the rest of the world know I used to be a woman or something. Like, is that something that Crocodile would really care about that much, to the point where, like, Ivankov can use that as, like, blackmail against him? Like, Crocodile really, really, really did not want that information to get out. Like, is it really that big of a deal from Crocodile? Now, like, if during Alabasta, when we got introduced to Crocodile's character, and like Luffy and everybody were encountering him, and like in the casino and everything like that, if Crocodile went on this long spiel, or had this overarching theme of, like, you know, men are the superior, you know, like something like that, you know, or he was very masculine or something like that, like, I am a man and I am strong like man because I'm man, you know, like if he was like that kind of character, like really, really boastful with his masculinity or something like that, I can understand later on that he would be like, oh, you know, I used to be a woman and I went to Ivankov. I don't want anyone to know about that, you know? But that's not Crocodile's character. You know, he never really, he's very suave. I always compare him to a Bond villain. He's always there swirling the wine and smoking the cigar and just, you know, there's really nothing about Crocodile's character that, like, screams to me that he would be, like, super embarrassed to the point of being, like, having this information lorded over him that, you know, he was, like, born biologically female and was, you know, changed sex later via Ivankov's hormone fruit. Like, that doesn't really seem like Crocodile would be that really ashamed or, like, you know, worried about that information getting out by that. It just, his character doesn't really, you know, doesn't really say that to me. So maybe it's a red herring. Maybe Oda wants us to think that's what it was. You know, Crocodile meeting Ivankov, that must have been it, that, because Crocodile, I mean, Ivankov, when we get introduced to him during Impel Down, the first thing we see Ivankov do is change someone's sex using the hormone fruit, right? So it's like, oh, that must be what Crocodile, that's what their backstory entailed. You know, the relationship Ivankov has with Crocodile must have involved that. But no, there's a bunch of other things that could have involved. The secret that Crocodile has, you know, that could have been something involving the Revolutionary Army. Could have been a bunch of different things, right? So what if Oda told the people that did Netflix of, like, oh no, Crocodile was always a man, but if you want to make him a woman in the series, that doesn't really change much about his character. That's my points. You know what I mean? There's nothing about Crocodile's character through all of the Baroque Works saga that's like, oh, he has to have a dick for this to work. You know, like that's the only way this character works. It's just like, no, it's not like a major part of his character or anything. The fact of, like, what sex he is or what gender or what he identifies as or anything like that, that really has nothing to do with it, right? Crocodile's character is more about him wanting to be king of the pirates, going out to sea after Roger's execution, like so many pirates did, and, you know, eating the Logia and getting powerful, and then eventually running into Whitebeard, and the encounter with Whitebeard happened. I think that's where Crocodile lost his hand, got his hook, and then he's like, okay, well, I tried barging into the New World and got my ass kicked by Whitebeard, so I'm going to go a different tactic now. I'm going to become a warlord, and I'm going to set up Baroque Works and build up this criminal organization and lord over that. I'm going to try to find Pluton. Once I find an ancient weapon, I could go back and kick Whitebeard's ass, and then I can take over the New World. And then that didn't work because of Luffy and the Straw Hats, and it's like, okay, now I'm going to try a completely different angle. I'm going to become a loan shark and lend out money to, like, Buggy the Clown and stuff, and then I'm going to call collect, I'm going to bring it all in, and now he's a member of the Cross Guild with Mihawk and everybody, right? So that's Crocodile's story, and there's a lot more to it than that. That was a very abridged kind of, like, recap and everything, but nothing really screams to me like, you know, oh, Crocodile's sex or Crocodile's gender really applies a lot to his character. Like, you can't possibly change that. The whole character paradigm shifts. I'm like, no, not really. Not particularly, no. Can't really see that. No. Yeah. So what if it was like that? What if it was like, hey, we're going to make Crocodile, cast Crocodile with a female actress in the live action. And Oda's like, yeah, sure. You know, and then there might even be a thing where it's like, yeah, that'll make people think even more that that's what Crocodile's secret was. But it was actually something completely different and unrelated. Okay. It involved Ivankov. It might have involved Ivankov in the Revolutionary Army or just specifically Ivankov. Sure, there's a secret there that Crocodile doesn't want getting out. But Okay, so yeah. Oh, by the way, the actress that played Crocodile, once again, don't know her name. She looked badass. So if we're just gonna have more of her throughout like season 2 into season 3, I'm not sure how they would do it because it depends on how many episodes they got. But thinking about it, going all the way from like Logtown to Reverse Mountain, Whiskey Peak, Little Garden, Drum Island, and then to Alabasta in the whole season, I don't think that's season 2. That's gonna be a lot. So I think it would make more sense to establish Crocodile in season 2, so we'll see their character a couple of times to like get a handle on who they are, but then maybe end season 2 as you're approaching Alabasta, and then all of season 3 is Alabasta. I think that would be a better idea, but we're talking about things that are like years in advance at this point. Season 2 hasn't even been 100% confirmed yet. It's been more confirmed than it hasn't been. It's just more of a situation of the strike. So once the strike resolves, and then we'll have a clear, concise thing, and also give it a couple more days and weeks on like exactly how the episode handles on Netflix, like not just opening week, but also the weeks, you know, following, and just like, okay, if the numbers stay up, if ratings are good, and after the strike ends, I personally think season 2 is confirmed with all those like bricks falling into place, as it were, right? Okay, so there's that. So there's one more thing I wanted to bring up, because it does have parallels to another character in One Piece, and I wanted to mention, and maybe a theme that Oda's going with here. Okay, so once again, I don't see why this would bother Crocodile to the point of like him not wanting people to know, but I can maybe see an angle similar to Kuina. So Kuina's whole character was, you know, she was convinced that women could not be stronger than men in terms of like swordsmanship and stuff like that. And so she kind of became depressed over that. Like, you know, she even told Zoro, like, my father told me that women can't be as strong as men. And for that reason, I'm kind of depressed here. And Zoro, you're a man, so you're going to grow up someday and you're going to be stronger than me. That's going to happen. And then eventually Kuina runs into her mortal enemy down D stairs, and we all know what happens from there. Okay, so that's Kuina's story. Now, let's see if Oda does something as a parallel here a little bit, where Crocodile as a woman begins her pirating career, after Roger's execution, and goes and makes huge waves in the Grand Line, in Paradise, and has the Logia, has the Suna no Mi, and is just like insanely powerful, okay? But then she eventually runs into Whitebeard in the New World and attacks him, and Whitebeard and his crew just decimate Crocodile, lop off a hand, that kind of jazz. And what if it was that instance that made Crocodile feel like, okay, I need to get stronger in order to conquer Whitebeard? And what if it was like a parallel with Kuina, where Crocodile arrived at the conclusion of like, maybe it's my sex that's the problem, and then sought out Ivankov. Ivankov used the hormone fruit, changed Crocodile into a man, and then also got like the hook and everything like that as well. Maybe Ivankov was the one that maybe helped out with that operation to get the hook, you know what I mean? Maybe, possibly, maybe the Revolutionary, maybe that's why maybe Crocodile was found by the revolutionaries or something like that. I don't fucking know. But there's certainly some connection here, right? So it could have been something like that, and it also might make sense why Crocodile's full title is Sir Crocodile. So maybe after meeting Ivankov and changing sex, maybe Crocodile was like, I want to be referred to as Sir Crocodile from now on. I'm a whole and I'm gonna bring death to Whitebeard and become king of the pirates and all that jazz. Might have been something like that. Maybe that's another angle to take it if Oda is gonna like go down that road with the backstory with Crocodile there. But yeah, just wanted to give you my opinions on that, and the casting choice and everything, and seeing if we just go with that and that's just how it goes, and then by the time we get to Impel Down in the live action, it's like a completely different thing. Maybe it's like, oh no, the secret had nothing to do with that. It was just something altogether like about Crocodile's backstory that he doesn't want getting out, but it had nothing involved with like sex or gender. And just like, oh, okay, well, there we are. There we have it. Well, anyway, that's the video, everybody. Hope you guys enjoyed, and now let's end it out with some Yellow Jacket facts. All right, so last time, first of all, I told a story about having like a ground hive at my parents' house when I was growing up, and I poured gasoline down the hole and it killed all the yellow jackets. Yeah, that works. You could do that, but don't do that. That's not good for the water table, but it does kill the shit out of yellow jackets, which is a great thing. Now, many people might also bring up at this moment, hey, Tech, look, Matt, we know that you don't like yellow jackets. All right, and you're afraid of them, and you're a wimp, and whatever, okay, and you hate yellow jackets. But yellow jackets and wasps in general, they have duties that they fulfill in nature. It's like a balance of nature and everything. It's just like the great world we live in and all that stuff. The circle of life and all that. They have a role to play. And the role that they play, well, first of all, a lot of bird species will eat wasps as food. So, if you get rid of the wasps, then the birds in certain areas, they might not be able to survive as well. To that I say, the birds are fine. The birds can find some, I can't find any wasps to eat today. I'll find something else. The birds will be fine. The birds will adapt, okay? But another way is like, well, teching, yellow jackets also eat a lot of insects that are pest insects that especially will like attack crops and stuff, like cabbage worms and aphids and crickets and various things that might destroy crops and stuff. So if you get rid of all the yellow jackets, then all of these animals will begin to consume the agriculture, and then people might starve because of that. And I'm like, yeah, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Look, all I'm saying is this. If I'm the one that ever finds the magic genie lamp, and then I rub it and a genie comes out and like, I will grant you 3 wishes. One of those wishes is going to be me exterminating every yellow jacket on the planet. Just make your peace with that. That's happening no matter what, okay? I'm just like, yeah, the birds will be fine. It'll be a little unbalanced for a little while, but everything will fall back into place at some point. We'll be good. Don't worry about it. We'll be better off for it. I'm going to eradicate all yellow jackets and mosquitoes. It'll be a little weird for a little while. Everybody will be like, oh, man, that upsets this environment and that biome and this biome. But everything will balance out sooner or later. It'll be fine. All right. Well, anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Techig signing out.